Hey everyone, Brad Porter here with your weekly Sunday update. Hey, this week's going to be a little bit of a grab bag of stuff. We had my full leadership team, on site here. It's 2 days spent kind of going deep on the business and where we want to take it. So that was super exciting. Had a board meeting that went really well. Released a video this week of kind of a new theory on the mechanism behind how the Great Pyramids might have been built. But then there's a whole bunch of interesting commentary on X this week around robotics and humanoids, and kind of fascinating interchange between Brett Adcock of Figure and someone at Agility, where I don't know, the Agility was claiming Brett was maybe overstating how much Figure invented the space, and then Brett was pushing back that Agility is going to go out of business. It was just like a little. What I think it suggests, though, is there's quite a bit of stress in this space. Is what I'm reading, right? I think I went back and looked, like Q1. Elon was promising 5,000 robots this year. And they just showed a production line, so that was kind of cool. But you have no idea if they're building, one or 100 or 1,000. The suspicion is it's kind of tends to maybe 100 plus. But I don't know. They haven't announced anything, and now they're into flying cars or something. I don't know. It's a little hard to follow. But there was also an interesting, someone from Tesla AI posted saying that, hey, inference chips on these robots really are like super flaky. They don't like, people have to reset them every 6 hours. And it was like head scratching to me. So, a little bit of education for folks. So this is an NVIDIA Orin AGX. Obviously, like what you see is heat sink, right? Like this is designed to dissipate a lot of heat, fan on the top. Yes, these GPUs consume a lot of power, and they produce heat, and you're running these not in like climate controlled environments like data centers. So all that makes sense, but they don't flake out. I mean, we're running advanced AI workloads on our robots. They're running 16 hours a day, every day. And so, the reason that GPUs or whatever inference chipset you have might flake out is because you're basically running it above the kind of thermal and power limits. And then, from a heat standpoint, they just get too hot. And the calculations start to, sometimes are incorrect, or often there's a heat sensor that will kind of shut it down or back off the power. So anyhow, but really, inference GPU is not a significant problem for advanced AI robotics. Amazon's running a lot of GPUs on a lot of the robotic systems. It works, it scales, it runs 24/7, and so I was a little confused by that statement. Maybe a challenge that Tesla's facing with their chips. Obviously, they're very vertically integrated, doing their own chips. So maybe there's a struggle there to keep and look, you have to get the power dissipation or the heat dissipation right. The thermal engineering is tricky, and then often people don't put enough of these on. GPUs are nice and they can run in parallel. You can put multiple of these on a robot. We have multiple of them on our robot. And so, anyhow, a little bit of thought to the brain of a robot, but we're not seeing a problem. We're doing a lot of multimodal models, VLAs on these robots, and SLAM, navigation, perception. It works. It works great. But like dovetailing back to them, when we set this down, dovetailing back to our leadership offsite, one of the things we talked about, in the advertising space, there's a question of, do you target ads only at new folks, right? Or do you target ads at your biggest supporters as well, right? Because your biggest supporters are your biggest champions. They're kind of helping the word of mouth, viral adoption. I think the same applies. I've talked a lot about there are kind of three critical constituents for a startup. You have your investors, your customers, and your employees, right? Those, all three of those can kind of make or break a startup, right? And, from investors, you're looking for, the capital, the commitment, the guidance, the advice. From your customers, you're looking for, again, the conviction, the willingness to grow with you, particularly as an early stage product, and someone who's willing to signal, hey, we're committed, we're in, right? And then from employees, you're obviously looking for that motivation, energy, that willingness to solve hard problems, willingness to dig deep to help the enterprise succeed, right? But what we sometimes forget is that we forget to reinvest in those three constituents, right? So in a couple months here, we're going to be doing an investor showcase where we're bringing our existing investors into this space and really show everything that we're doing, right? Because our existing investors have been on this journey with us, many of them like from day one. It makes sense to keep pitching them as to how the progress is going, right? And I mean, pitch sounds like like somehow you're selling. By pitching, I mean you're retelling the story, right? And what's the latest of the story? And I think you need to keep doing that with customers. If you just take your existing customers for granted, right, and just go pitch new customers, and you're not explaining to your existing customers, and Amazon does this really well with like the executive briefing center and these executive briefings. We have this space now where we can bring our customers in and really help kind of tell the story of where we're going. And so, in many ways, that's repitching your existing customers. But one of the things we talked about is that it's easy to forget to repitch your employees too, right? That your employees are on this journey, they know it day in and day out, but if you're not kind of retelling the kind of overall story and the narrative, it's easy to just take for granted that employees are kind of committed to the mission and vision. And so it's one of the things we reminded ourselves, in addition to continuously telling the story to our investors, our existing investors, not just new investors, right? As to how things are going, how we're progressing, what we've learned. You want to keep telling that story to your existing customers as well, because the space and our roadmaps continue to improve and get more and more exciting. And then you need to do the same thing with your employees. So that's my thought for the weekend. Hope you all have a great Sunday. Check out the video on the Egyptian pyramids if you're interested, and we'll see you next week.